G'day guys, welcome back. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for following my contents. I really do appreciate you being here. Fijian Drua versus Western Force. This was a super close game as we were expecting. Two of the upcoming teams, I guess you could say, fighting out to see who's gonna get the supremacy on this match. Man, this was surprisingly hard hitting for both teams. The Fijians really put some heavy shots on the Western Force. Was rather entertaining to watch. This was a game that like two very different styles. The Western Force is much more well drilled, having a really good, set piece. They have a lot of pretty experienced former international players in the Western Force team, and really gave them that platform with their set pieces, with their overall play style, a more structured kicking game. The scrummaging and the lineouts were all kind of like that traditional style of rugby, whereas the Fijians has that seven styles of playing, hard hitting, hard running, and then when it comes to the scrummaging, the lineouts, especially the lineouts, the Fijians really struggled quite a bit. The scrummaging was a little bit of an issue for them at the start, but much better than the second half of the Fijians. But overall, you know what? If you can't beat them, just do something else, right? This is like a famous strategy from the Sun Tzu Art of War. You know, if your opponent is strong in something, just avoid it and do something else. And that's what the Fijians did. The Fijians played the style of rugby that they know they were good at. Just really basic stuff. Offloading, hard running, and big hard hits in the tackles, dominant tackles, and really kept the Western Force out. Despite the Western Force having a more structured game, kept the Western Force out with a good defense. I was really close to holding on to this for a win. But eventually, in extra time, the 2 minutes after 18th minute, Western Force finally gets a penalty to squeeze out this win. And huge performance for both teams, and it was quite entertaining to watch. So so let's have a look at the stats before we get on with the game. So look at the run meters: 520 for the Fijians and 500 for the Western Force. Both teams absolutely threw the kitchen sink at each other to try to score tries. And it was really entertaining to see. Turnovers conceded, the Fijians having a little bit of issue there. 17 turnovers conceded to the Western Force 12. Tackles made, 168 tackles made. By the Honduras, only 10 missed tackles. That is really good. But these stats sometimes do lie a little bit. I know sometimes they miscount these tackles a bit, but still, 10 missed tackles as compared to 29 for the Western Force is, even if it's miscounted, it's definitely better than the Western Force by quite a big margin there. And Western Force only had to make 136 tackles as well, having a much higher missed tackle rate. So really good performance by the Fijians. That good defense is like the platform that a lot of teams have struggled with. We saw that from, the Melbourne Rebels struggles with the defense, something that the Fijians seems to be able to get that down packed. It's, there's a saying that tackling is like a mental attitude. It's not really about how physical you are or how fast you are. It's that mental, it's like a mental space of mind to make that tackle, to make that, to take down the player at whatever it takes, right? And Fijians having that mentality to get this such a high good tackle. This is international level of tackle completion rate. The Springboks gets this kind of tackle rate, right? Like they're world champions. To see the Fijians do us being able to put up this sort of numbers is quite impressive, to be really honest. Kicks in play, like I mentioned, 13-19, pretty low kicking count for the Fijians. They just ran the ball. They realized the kicking game is not something they're good at, so they don't. They just ran the ball throughout the game. Conversions may have hurt the Fijians a little bit. The goal kicking was a little bit off, unlike previous weeks for the goal kicker, but still quite good effort. The lineouts, probably the biggest issue for the Fijians. Again, something that as a new team, I can understand. They haven't been drilled that, teams spent years and years drilling that lineouts to try to get that set piece working, get them more working, and Fijians just need more practice to get there eventually. And again, penalties conceded, Fijians was much more disciplined than the Western Force. 11 penalties conceded to the Western Force 16, and 1 yellow card for the Western Force for just repeated penalties in the danger zone in the end of the first half. Just really, really good attacking rugby from the Fijians as a result of getting that yellow card. So overall, 2 tries apiece, a lot of hard hitting, a lot of hard running, just big hits throughout the game. So right off the start, the game kind of kicked off with the Western Force again, with that methodical, with that more structured play, getting them in the front foot. They were able to get the first try on the ball with Thrush. What's his name? Leo Thrush. He basically gets the Western Force on the board only 18 minutes into the game. Instantly, the Fijians cut it on the back foot. You can see the lineouts are struggling, really hurt them quite a lot, the Fijians, especially in the first half. The lineouts was just, unpressured mistakes. But just before halftime, following this try was scored, the Western Force gets another penalty. So Ian Pryor puts the Western Force further in front before the Fijians could get anywhere. It was just under the pressure from the Western Force. Set pieces really hurting them at the beginning. Just before halftime, the Fijians start to stage a comeback. They were able to get They were able to get a lot of pressure on the Western Force. Just really started playing their own rugby. Started playing instead of trying to play, I guess the Western Force style rugby. The Fijians, they started to play that, brand of Fijian rugby, hard running rugby, that 7-star rugby, and it really started to show a lot of defensive issues from the Western Force as soon as they started doing that. 32nd minute, Fijian gets in with their first try. Hambosi goes through just before on the 32nd minute. Fijian wasn't able to convert that, but they kept the pressure on. Just before halftime, they were able to almost score a try. And just before halftime, one of the Fijian props, what's his name? One of the Fijian props, one of the big men crashes over, and it looked like it was going to be a try just before halftime. The referee has to look, and he said that one of the locks knocked on the ball in the breakdown. It looked very, very, very close to me. I didn't think that was knock on. I thought he scooped the ball up. In one move, the ball didn't leave his hand. He didn't detach his hand. I thought that was a wrong decision by the referee, because if it was a knock on, the ball has to kind of like lose control of it. It didn't look he lost control. It looked like he kind of scooped the ball on the ground a little bit and then picked it up. It didn't look like he actually lost control of the ball during any of those points. But Nick Berry, so that try was disallowed, but the Western Force was under so much pressure to defend this try. They were giving away so many penalties, yellow card. So Fijians takes the 3 points, going to halftime, 8 points to 10. So this is something that I thought maybe could have done a little bit better here for Fijians. They probably should have gone for a try here. They were really close. Western Force, one play in the bin. I thought they should have gone for a try. But it did look like some of their players were really, really exhausted. So yeah, they decided to take the 3 points here. Second half starts. The Western Force came out swinging for the fence, really in control. They put the Fijian on pressure, pounding the try line. Isaac Roddick gets a pick and go, goes over for the try. And then straight away, the Western Force pulls ahead 17 points to 8, 3 minutes into the second half, right? Immediately, the Fijian hits back, realizing they're down and they need to make something happen. Right from the kickoff, Western Force gets the ball. The return kick, Fijians gets it, decides to run the ball. I think it was their number 12, Ravovo gets the ball, just carves through the defense, through the middle of the field, down through the Western Force defense, down the middle of the field. Just before he gets tackled just before the try line. He looks up, Lomani was there, pops up to him. Lomani goes in under the sticks. Immediately hit back for the Fijians, something that I really need. 15 points to 17. And then from there going forward, just both teams trading big hits, like, two heavyweight boxers smashing each other. And then eventually Fijians were able to put some pressure on the Western Force, getting a penalty inside the Western Force 22. Following this penalty, just piled on pressure. Western Force giving away the penalty. Fijians decided to take another 3 points here. So it pulls ahead 18 points to 17. With this happened on the 55 minutes into the game. So with about 25 minutes still left, Fijian was trying to hold on to that 1 point. A lot of good playing, good game management, good hard hitting for both teams. on the on the 59th minute, it looked like the Western Force scored a try. There was a bit of the Mata Ele makes a break on the sideline. He kicks the ball through, and then it was like just really bizarre stuff. The ball kind of like just ended up outside the Fijians' end zone. The Fijian player kind of like jumps on the ball, and the Western Force player dives onto the Fijian player, and that gets penalized. And it looked like the Western Force player almost, anyway, it looked like the ball kind of like got loose as well. Following that, it looked like Western Force almost grounded it, but it was a really bizarre situation where someone got penalized for jumping on a player that was on the ground. But anyway, so 69th minute, finally Fijian had a bit of a struggling with the scrummaging. The reserve props came on, huge scrum, big scrum penalty for Fiji. That was quite good, and all the Fijians quite happy about that. And then on the 70th minute, both teams kind of realizing that no one's going to be able to score in the current situation. Fijian had the opportunity to kick for 3, get a penalty. This was quite far out. They had some opportunities to closer to the game, but they decided to go for the try. They kind of like wasn't able to do so. So this one was pretty far out. It was like from the sideline, and it was like almost 50 meters out. Sure enough, it was a good kick, nicely like struck, but it was just missed the mark. So this was the 3-point that Fijians desperately needed. And then finally, the Western Force, in the last few minutes of the game, they had an opportunity to kick for a goal, 45 meters out, but the Western Force decides to go for the try. They kind of like pound the try line. Fijians were to defuse it. Eventually, the pressure just kept on building. They went over to 82nd minute, and the Fijians was just being really disciplined, not giving it a penalty. It looked like the Western Force was setting up for a drop goal. And then as that's kind of happening, the referee penalized a Fijian player in the breakdown, hands in the rack. Just didn't really need to do that. Western Force gets the opportunity. They go for the drop kick anyway, but they missed, and they get one more opportunity to have a penalty kick after the missed drop goal. And the Force player, Kunzel, slots this one from kind of an angle, but yeah, really unfortunate. Fijian let that one slip away. 18 points to 20. Really good effort from the Western Force to close that one out, manage that, that last bit of a play almost perfectly to get that penalty, to get that desperately needed 3 points in extra time. Prompts to you. This was a pretty decent game, and let me know your thoughts on this game, guys. Thanks for watching this video. I do really appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, yada. And have a good day. I'll see you guys next week. Cheers.